of doing an informal roll call. And I'm going to start with the appointees. And as we are aware, the legislative act that pretty much dictates what happens when a district is assigned moderate financial recovery prescribes that there must be an advisory committee to the chief recovery officer. And of that committee, there must be appointees who represent different entities that have valuable information, but look through a little bit different lens so that they can share best practices from their organizations and weigh in on decisions that are being made in the district. So I'm Nancy Rabel. I'm the Chief Recovery Officer. With us this afternoon, we have the Sto-Rox School District Superintendent, Mrs. Sonia Coleman. Also, it looks as though we have Sto-Rox School District Board Member, Representative Director Denisha Hunter-Rue. And she says hello through the message bar. Thank you. Our representative from the principal ranks here in the district, we have Ms. Heather Johnston. Also from the business office, we have the new business director, Mr. Scott Reed. From the Allegheny Intermediate Unit, one of our reps is joining us today. That is Dr. Leanna Lawson. Hello, Leanna. Also, we have a special education advocate from McGuire Memorial, Ms. Jessica Taylor.
Hello.
Hello. We have a resident joining us, one of the appointees, Ms. Tina Nagel. We still have one vacant seat. And we also have from the teaching ranks at Sto-Rox, we have Ms. Maria Kotek joining us. Let me scroll through the list of attendees real quickly. I missed somebody who is connected via phone. Are you one of our appointees?
I am not. I'm just a resident.
Okay, it's not just a resident. We appreciate you joining us. Did you want to give your name? You're not obligated to do that.
It's Jackie Wacker.
Jackie, could you spell your last name, please?
W-A-C-K-E-R.
Okay, thank you for joining us. And I also see an individual identified in the group as Mary Sue Flick. Is that correct? Mary Sue Flick, are you still with us? Okay, perhaps not.
I am.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
I was having issues with my microphone. I'm here with Mayor Dave Flick.
Great, thank you for joining us. And let me make a note of that. And because the district has been assigned moderate financial recovery, the district has support, various technical support representatives. And with us today, we have Stephen Ramirez from PFM. Thank you for joining us. Is there anyone from Wetzel and Company with us today? I didn't see anybody in the list. And as a reminder, these individuals provide various technical support according to the district needs. Certainly, I can initiate and ask them to do various research projects, to have them crunch some numbers, look to the future forecast, and so forth. The superintendent can do that, and the business manager as well. Any questions on who is joining us this afternoon? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and follow the agenda. Again, the same format that we have been following in the past. Kind of, I use a different term other than old business as topics revisited. We know that the district is on a list for an initiative. It starts with the federal level. It is funded through the federal government and then comes down through the Commonwealth. Sto-Rox School District did qualify for participation in supporting America's School Infrastructure Grant Program. And what we understand that program involves is connecting the district with an engineering group, mostly from Penn State University. They do not provide equipment or products, but they do provide consultation services. And so the district, we have communicated with the program directors and have said that the interest here is to take a look at the junior senior high school to focus on this particular building. We know it's the oldest. We know that sizable repairs are on a list of to-dos, and we want to try to see what might be possible here in the district. Certainly, the district is challenged with declining enrollment, but this could be a community hub space if it is reconfigured. What would that look like? What would that cost? Are there grants, funding sources out there? And that's all part of the SASE program, and they do assist districts with that. There are only certain districts that have the opportunity to participate in this program, and it's based on poverty levels. Unfortunately, with the budget impasse in Harrisburg, there's been no new movement on that. We did receive an email September 10th from one of the program leads there assuring us that the district remains on the list and is really near the top. And as soon as the impasse is resolved, we would expect to have those connections made with the engineers, host a visit, and see what they come up with in terms of the possibilities here. Any questions on that? Okay, we know that there is an appointee position that's been vacant. It's the second resident position. And on October 17th, the superintendent and I met with a representative from McKees Rock CDC. That individual did express interest in being appointed to our particular committee. And I did make sure that I connected him with Dr. Jacoby from the AIU. And again, going back to the legislative action that kind of dictates what happens with the Financial Recovery Advisory Committee, it is the intermediate unit's role to vet and to discuss with any individual parties who may be interested in joining us, why they're interested, what contributions they can make, and so forth. Leanna, are you aware of any updates on that? Has the connection been made? Has Jill shared that with you?
I did not get a chance to talk to Jill about it today. I was going to ask her because I read it in the notes and I didn't get to. She was actually planning to join, so she might be on here soon enough. I saw her in passing earlier.
Okay, well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that. Okay, since we last met, there has been action on the amended financial recovery plan, and you can see it listed there in the agenda. The amended language was approved by simple majority on September 25th. That included 3 yes votes, 2 no votes. There were some audience members present who expressed concerns about tax increases, and some expressed support of a future merger. And I just want to share with the group, I'm not sure about the tax increases, why there was a sense among community members that this was something that was new and different. Going back to the time when the original plan was drafted, there were references to that. I remember talking to this committee about page 57 language, and there has to be a consideration of raising taxes to the index if the district is not able to otherwise balance its budget. Certainly the district wants to have reserves in hand, for planned projects, unknowns that the future may hold. And so districts are discouraged from using all of their fund balance to balance the budget for the next school year. So that is not anything new or different. It is not something that anybody desires or prefers, but the recovery officer does have the authority to recommend something different if there are mitigating factors. So that is to be determined annually, but it is part of the equation given the status of moderate financial recovery. Also, there was a new board member assigned, took the oath and participated in the last meeting that the board had here most recently. And there was another individual who expressed interest. The name was on the voting agenda. However, that individual was not approved. And it was my understanding that the individual initially expressed some interest, but didn't follow up. There were numerous attempts to contact the individual, to ask the individual to come to the meeting to talk about interest in being part of the Board of School Directors, and just even to send some additional information. And then there was no response received. Is that correct, Martha?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and Martha's the board secretary. That's why I asked her to weigh in on that. Any questions under the category of the board action? Okay, so once the local board approved the amended recovery plan, it then went on to Harrisburg, and the acting director of education Secretary of Education did approve that on September 30th. And we had asked that the website be reflected and it accordingly, and it does have that specific notification posted. All right, so the next steps in the progress. So keep in mind, there's an original recovery plan that is not null and void. That still is active, but that now we've honed in on We want the district to align itself, hopefully to qualify for exit from financial recovery within the next 3 years or so, and then to move towards a 5-year monitoring phase. If that would go successfully, then full independence would be reinstated here at the district level. So the action items are mostly listed in Appendix E of the document. And so now we are shifting to the to-dos. Who's going to do what has been prescribed, and how do we measure that? And so that's what the district is doing at this point in time. PFM, as noted, one of our technical support staff, along with the superintendent, have put together a nice framework, and it's going to be shared with the district administrators because they are the responsible parties in most cases. And then there'll be some follow-up, collecting the data, the evidence of the movement, and hopefully, we'll see the needle shift, as they say, or the needle move. Any questions on that? I also want to just mention real quickly, if I could, and Sonia, you may want to weigh in on this. I know that you're tying the amended financial recovery plan into your strategic plan, your kind of prep work for a new comprehensive plan for the district. The district isn't due to file a new comprehensive plan until 2027. Still, she's done a crosswalk document and she's tying them together. I believe you have 5 meetings planned with community stakeholders. First one, November 5th, and I'll let you finish that if you don't mind.
Yes, that's
I think we need Tony to go off mute so we can hear you.
right now.
Yep.
Can you hear me? So that's correct. We do have a meeting scheduled for November 5th. That'll be the first meeting. I haven't scheduled the other ones. I'm going to kind of poll the group as to the time and location of the follow-up meetings. And yes, I've done a crosswalk to kind of connect the work, because the one thing we don't want to do is feel like we're doing more work, but the work needs to connect and build out action steps so we can realize our efforts and successes in all areas of the strategic plan and the financial recovery plan.
Thank you for adding that detail. All right, so I'm going to move to new topics for consideration. Just wanted to make a note that the financial recovery tab on the district website, we've reconfigured, moved some things around a little bit. And to be very honest with you, the reason we moved them is various reporters reached out after the amended recovery plan went public, and there was conversation and even board commentary and so forth. And those individuals who I would assume are pretty savvy at research, we can't find this, we can't find that. And I'm referencing an email. And so anyway, worked with Lydia, who is the district's consultant from the IU, who does the public relations component here and the marketing. And she did a really nice job. So things are reconfigured. So hopefully they're more accessible. Please take a moment, take a look. If that's not the case, if you want to offer some feedback as to how we might do that better, please do that. That is the purpose of the website, to share that information. And there is a specific section marked as financial recovery. Dr. Jill Jacoby just joined us from the IU. Jill, I'm going to just ask the question. Have you been able to make any contact with the individual who reached out and said he might be interested in joining as a resident appointee?
I left a message and I'm waiting for a response. And if I don't hear, I'll reach back out.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Just making a quick note. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
And not to go backwards, so I do apologize.
That's okay.
But in regards to the school taxes, I'm a brand new resident to McKees Rocks, so this is all new to me. But I get taxes increase, but we are higher than Upper St. Clair. We are higher than Mount Lebanon. That's the part that upsets me. Like, our PSSA scores, our housing on our violence in this town does not match what taxes are. And I don't feel that the residents of McKees Rocks should be penalized because of this funding plan.
Okay,
so I did go to the news.
Okay.
Like, I'm really upset.
Okay, so let me respond, and I'm assuming maybe the superintendent might want to make some remarks about the academic comment. So understand that there's no suggestion that the district does nothing and that the district just taxes the residents. That's not what we're saying. That's not what the amended plan is saying, and that's not what the original 2022 plan is saying either. There has to be a combination of effort. For example, if we have fewer students than we had 3-4 years ago, then we have to look at staff numbers and we have to see, is there a room for reduction? Now, certainly nobody wants to negatively impact children, so you have to take a look at who's doing what. For example, a teacher is not a teacher is not a teacher. For example, if you're talking about a special education teacher of autistic children, there's a certain maximum caseload size. That teacher cannot have in his or her classroom 25 students, 20 students, 15 students. So you have to be mindful of that. And it's just not a matter of staff numbers. There are also other opportunities out there, different revenue streams. Grant funding is a possibility, but there's also a caution with that. And this committee has talked about that before. The district did find itself in a situation where it was applying for grants, being awarded grants, but really wasn't meeting the compliance guidelines. Getting notices that this report, that report, and so forth were due, checks and balances with finances and so forth. So you have to make sure that the district has the administrative capacity. But I just want to make it really, really clear, those scores are on everybody's minds, regardless of what the tax burden is, that the score should be better. We agree with that. And I think when Tony presents here in a little bit, you're going to feel inspired. I know I do, seeing what he has planned and what he has already started. So please know that raising taxes is not the first consideration. Nobody's saying, let's just do that. We're talking about right-sizing the district in terms of the numbers of staff. And then with that, you have to think about that. The best way to do that, honestly, is through attrition. Nobody wants to furlough, lay off people. That is the best way to do it. But we have to take a look at the district's practices. Just little things, let me reassure you, that I've seen here. When I work on site in the district, I work outside of the business office. So I'm in the ebb and flow of activities that are occurring. And the finds that individuals are having, discoveries of how things were done or not done in the past, there is inherent savings in those things. So please keep that in mind. Nobody is suggesting do nothing and put the burden completely on the taxpayers. Sonia, did you want to comment on the remark about the scores and so forth?
Thank you. I think once Tony presents, it'll give everyone a clear picture. So I don't want to speak too much. A lot of what we're doing in terms of academics, he's going to show in the presentation. And so when he presents, I think that'll answer a lot of the questions in terms of how we move forward and grow, both with achievement and growth and achievement.
Okay, any other questions, comments? So I also want to tie it to the next point in the agenda, the Harrisburg budget impasse. It's interesting when you're looking at local media. A lot of the common themes now are about the budget impasse and how districts or municipalities are halting services, talking about loans and so forth. And one thing that is really important to know about the district is this district currently is not in that situation. This district was very, very smart with its COVID dollars. There is a reserve right now because the district was very prudent. And I was interviewed last week by a reporter from WESA, and I'd known her from when I was a superintendent in another district several years ago. And she said, oh, something to the effect of, I bet the district is really struggling. It's a high poverty district and now the impasse. And I said, well, really, I'm not going to brag. I'm not going to suggest in any way that the district can sustain itself long term if the money is not released in terms of the subsidies the school district would otherwise receive. But right now, the Sto-Rox School District is doing okay. It is absolutely holding its own. The student experience has not been negatively impacted. Nobody's been furloughed. Nobody's been targeted for furlough or for layoff. So I want the residents especially to know that the district has been doing a very good job. And when you're reading some of these stories or hearing them through the TV stations, please keep in mind, in most cases, the district is not matching what is happening in these other districts. They're not looking for loans, and as I said, furloughs and layoffs. So that is very reassuring. Progress is slow. I know that some things happen behind the scenes and residents aren't really aware, but I would encourage you to get involved with the monthly board meetings. Scott Reed, who is the new business manager here, he gives comprehensive, extensive reports about the state of affairs here, and it is much healthier than it has been. And think about how, we started this meeting, I'm talking about aligning the district for consideration of exit from financial recovery. The district has made gains. Any questions or comments before we move to Tony? Okay, so I got a preview of this presentation. As I said, I'm genuinely excited about it. This is really good stuff. It's exciting to see. And I'm going to turn this over to Tony. And as he is transitioning, let me just remind you that we meet the last Wednesday generally of every month. In November, we will be meeting November 19th because of Thanksgiving. And you can see on the agenda also, each of the administrators is going to take a turn to talk to the group, answer questions. Maybe they have questions for you from your perspectives and your expertise. November, we have Brittany Linsenbigler joining us. And again, the others are listed there. And so that should be exciting for us. So go ahead, Tony.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
So I'm not sure I got introduced earlier. I wasn't on the top of the agenda there. My name's Tony Paul. I'm the Director of Curriculum Assessment and Instruction for the district. And I started here in July. And my overarching goal is to maximize the quality of the educational experience for our students, which ties into everything related to curriculum, making that the best it can be, having an assessment plan that's the best it can be, having instructional practices that are the best they can be. So speaking to the attendee who was bringing up the scores from the past and things like that, of course, those things are all on all of our minds, and we want to do everything we can to get those things moving in the right direction. So hitting the ground running in July under the guidance of Mrs. Coleman, I came up with one of the first things I wanted to do was put sort of a roadmap in place, or a playbook, if you will, for the teachers and staff to follow in terms of what we can do in these areas to make improvements. And that's called our instructional framework. And I'll get into that in pretty good detail here in a minute. And like I said, it outlines a lot of the things that would, take us where we need to be and make those types of improvements. And that was all in the development phase, even before the finalized version of this amended recovery plan came to be. And so, when you look at the recovery plan in and of itself, there's a lot there. There's a lot of action steps, a lot of initiatives. It could be overwhelming if you just take it at surface value. But Mrs. Coleman and I have mentioned this in multiple meetings along the way that, honestly, these are things that we should be doing anyway. So when you look at it through that context, it's really, it all makes sense. It's all stuff that we were working on anyways, and the stuff that we were putting together, a lot of it fits into the initiative action steps and the things that we need to be doing for the amended recovery plan, but they're things we should be doing anyway. So as it relates specifically to my position, which is what I'm being asked to speak about today, as I look at the plan, it's broken down into 5. Can everybody see my screen?
No, you better share it. No.
Okay, hold on one second. Okay. You guys can see it now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we look at the plan in terms of the 5 initiative chapters. And when I look at the individual sections, I kind of broke it down into 2 parts. And the one part I have highlighted in black, those initiative action steps are specific to me and my position and things that my name is on the plan specific to those action steps. And there are several of those, but it's also important to note for me, reading through the whole entire plan, there are a lot of steps on here that maybe are not specific to me, but I still feel like they're relevant and related to the things that I do. A lot of the different things related to curriculum instruction and assessment tie into the budget piece or to the special education piece or all these different different aspects. So it's not just the ones in black where my name is specifically listed that I'm concerning myself with. I'm concerning myself with the entire plan and looking at all the different action steps and things that I can do to make an improvement across the board. So it's about 25 different steps in black and green there that are specific to what I'm trying to do here as the Director of Curriculum Assessment and Instruction. So that's my, high level overview. And so then as I start to dig down into the ones that I'm going to speak to today are the ones highlighted in black, which are the ones that are specific to me that I'm named on specifically in the plan. I could speak to the other ones if you'd like me to, but in the interest of time, I'll start off with the ones that are specific to me. And so as I look at the first section of the plan, the instructional programs and operations, that's the one that's tied most directly to my position. And so to develop and maintain K-12 curriculum and programming, that's where that instructional framework comes in. And so, again, that was something that was already in the works. So speaking to how that relates to the initiative, we're basically putting a playbook in place here for our, it's written to go to the vantage point of our teachers, but it's relevant to all staff as well. But just to put them in the best possible position to initiate best practices in these 4 areas here: curriculum, assessment, instructional strategies, and culture of high expectations. So, we're going to get into different parts of those as I talk over the next few minutes here. But the specific, first point there we were talking about was the curriculum. And so as we get into some of the meat of the instructional framework, we're looking at having teachers to review annually some important aspects of curriculum, the things like curriculum objectives, curriculum scope and sequence, standards alignment. And again, I can't speak to the level at which these conversations were happening in the past because I've only been here since July. But moving forward, these are the things that we're going to be focused on and we should be focused on. And hopefully those things have been focused on in the past, so it's not such a heavy lift for people. Talking about materials and resources and it's just the different things that you would expect when you're talking about curriculum, the different categories of assessment and instructional strategies, culture of high expectations. I'll get back to those other 3 areas in a few minutes as we move through the points of the amended recovery plan don't match up exactly to the instructional framework. So I'm going to kind of skip around a little bit here. So then as the framework gets into the curriculum piece, talking about how do we, just as simple as how do we even define curriculum and people know what the expectation is in terms of curriculum, and then an overview of the processes and procedures. We've initiated a process that wasn't in place before to have curriculum guide updates completed annually. I'll show you what the template for that looks like. It's going to have these different aspects of it there. I'll take you through that. It is spelling things out as to the way we want the curriculum guides to look. We want to update our curricular programs and resources to be, doing that annually so everybody can. We just want to increase the level of transparency for our whole curriculum and curricular programs and resources. Putting specific procedures in place for requesting new programs and resources. Again, just to make it clear to everybody what's supposed to be done. A major step here is the board approval of all curriculum. We're using this year as a year to build the curriculum and put it together because it's to my knowledge not been done before. And so to get a comprehensive K-12 curriculum written and articulated is probably, I have a lot of goals for this year, but if I had to pick one, that's probably the most important thing that I'm working on is to take something that was not in existence before, a K-12 curriculum, and not only have that put together, but to have it board approved next year. So that fits into the next piece here called the curriculum cycle. And again, I can't speak to what sort of cycle has been in place in the past, but we're looking at implementing a 4-year cycle here where, like I said, this particular school year will be a transition year where we're creating the curriculum. And then next year, we're going to move through month by month, having curriculum approval by the school board, department by department. Every year, all content areas are going to assess and budget for needs and monitor curriculum, do the things that they should be doing with their curriculum. It's not just going to be, what used to be maybe like a binder collecting dust on a shelf and nobody ever looks at it. This is a fluid document. This is something that we're paying attention to year after year, not only with the curriculum checklist that I talked about earlier, but with this curriculum cycle and approval process. I thought I saw
Tony,
somebody
can you
with
hear me?
a hand, but
Yep. Can you hear me?
it was okay. Nancy.
Yeah, I just want to stop you for 1
Oh, wait,
second.
hold on. We got it.
It's yours.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, I just want to stop you for 1 second, and I want to ask Maria Kotek if she could kindly weigh in, Heather Johnston as well, and even Jill Jacoby from the IU, who came in April or May of last year and tried to get a feel for what curriculum was in place or was not. Maria and or Heather, do you recall the last time the district had a full-time curriculum director doing what Tony is describing?
It was Dr. Amick. Heather can tell you the year. I cannot remember.
It was the 2021 school year.
So that you had a
2021.
full-time instructional leader, is that correct?
That is
Yes.
correct.
And Jill, what was your sense when you talked to the teachers? We sent teacher representatives to meet privately with you so they could share their concerns and what their needs were. Can you just give us a quick summary of what that sounded like?
Sure. I just think their sentiments were that there needed to be some system aligned avenue for synchronizing everything from what's happening in the classroom to the standards that were put out from PDE. I think kind of everybody was doing their own thing and pulling resources from various areas, and there just needed to be a handle on, from a system perspective, on what not only the curriculum was, but also the scope and sequence of what was taught daily in the classroom.
So I appreciate that, because from the resident perspective, this is a huge deal to have an instructional leader who's well-versed. Superintendent is an instructional leader as well. So you have the benefit of two experts trying to guide and lead and work with the teachers and the administration to make sure lessons are aligned to the standards, and those standards are what are assessed. So if the kids didn't have access to that, again, teachers doing the best that they could, doing what they thought was right. In some cases, things have been updated, but just mapping it all out to make sure that there are not gaps is really going to be helpful. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No problem at all. Anybody feel free to chime in with questions anytime. Anyways, continuing on through the curriculum cycle, that 26-27 year is going to be big, because that's going to be the year we're going to get it all approved by the school board. And again, the goal of curriculum transparency is very important to me, that everybody, that there's no secrets about what we're doing, and that to be able to, identify what we're doing and then make improvements to it, I think is the idea here. And again, each year going through all content areas, continuing to implement and monitor and do these things that they should be doing every year. But then what I do is I add in 27-28 what I call an in-depth curriculum audit. We go department by department here. So in 27-28, I'm going to be looking at ELA, math, and science, and I'm going to do a deep dive there. I'll show you what that looks like a little bit. The following year, I'll do these departments here. 29-30, I do these departments here. And then in 20-30-31, we start the cycle over again. So, basically there's a general checklist that I shared at the very beginning of when I started talking, that everybody's going to engage in to talk about curriculum in general. Now, as we go into content area by content area, into this deep dive into this curriculum audit, I'm going to lead that, and we're going to look at I'm not going to read all these bullet points here, but you can see, I don't think it's any crazy stuff in there that you wouldn't expect to see as you take a deep dive into curriculum. Just giving everybody a chance to really take a closer look at their needs and their successes and challenges, and everything related to the vertical alignment is a big part of it, and just the different research that goes with that. So just identifying the way that we sequence the curriculum up through the grade levels to make sure we're hitting the mark and preparing students for success at the next level. So those are the pages primarily that tie into the curriculum, which again ties to the amended recovery plan. First point there. I mentioned as part of it the development of curriculum guides this year. So just as an example, This is the work that teachers are engaged in now. We rolled this out at the beginning of the year and created a blank template. Everybody, all the teachers get a copy of the blank template, and then they fill in the parts that they need to. A lot of the work, we mentioned Dr. Amick, several years ago, 21, 22, and some other things that maybe there were parts of curriculum in place or curriculum-ish type things, but taking it to the next level here, just to have it articulated as a written K-12 curriculum, using this as a guide, just no big surprises here, just the general overview of the course and the resources, and then getting into the different units of the course and how long they'll last, and the concepts and the standards and the assessments. Again, no real surprises there in what you'd expect to see. This was one of the first ones that was submitted, and it looks great as a start. And so, like I said, some of these, it probably didn't take this teacher very long to put all this together, because she had it already in place in some form or fashion, and she, put it into the document that I was requesting. And so that's great. And now I can take hers and add it to the next one, to the next. I think that's the main piece that was missing, is taking everybody's and putting it all together in a comprehensive K-12 document that again, we can get board approved, and we can get on the website, and we can make it transparent for everybody to see, is a huge part of what we're trying to do here. So that all again speaks to Initiative IP1 for the framework and the curriculum guides. Initiative IP2, innovative teaching and learning models, and then going back into the framework on a couple of different pages. Like I said, I'm going to skip around a little bit. So, again, having this as a playbook for the teachers to look at, we've got a whole section on instructional strategies. The main ones we're focusing on, universal design for learning UDL, which is something that the teachers have been familiar with and have had training on in the past. So we're trying to build on that and take it to the next level. Gradual release of responsibility and the SAMR model of technology. I mean, you know how it is with instructional strategies. We could spend 5 hours talking about all kinds of different great strategies, but we pared it down to a few main ones we wanted to focus on, and these are the main ones. So, we just go into talk in detail about the UDL core ideas and different examples and ways to represent that, and share those things with the teachers. And same thing with gradual release of responsibility, the I do, we do, you do, and what that's all about, what that looks like, just different ways to represent that, and talk about those things with the teachers. And some of our professional development at the beginning of the year focused on that. And then just different ways that we can take UDL and gradual release and sort of combine the concepts into something that works together, and how those two ideas support each other. So just again, a lot of common sense type things, that no real surprises here, but again, articulating it for everybody, I think, is a huge step. And same thing with SAMR, just taking the technology that we're using and using it as purposefully as possible, and giving examples of how to do that. So, the only other piece that maybe I didn't mention in building into the main ideas that we're focused on in instructional strategies is the relationship between instructional strategies and student behavior. Just trying to curb some of the negative behaviors that we see, and develop that culture amongst the students, that the teachers are working hard to deliver the right type of teaching and learning experiences, and to get the students to engage in that in a positive and meaningful way. Just to have some ways that we go about doing that can be helpful there. So that's something that we're working on as well. IP3, the audit of the K-12 assessment plan. And let's see, again, back in the framework, skipping around a little bit here. So this is the section on assessment, and usually when you think about an assessment plan, you think about the PSSAs and the keystones, and you focus on the state tests, and that's all an important part of what we do. But I'm trying to broaden that focus to be more, to include formative assessment. To me, formative assessment is the most important thing we can do. I have many years as a school principal, and many years as a curriculum director, and I can I've always hung my hat on the idea that formative assessment, just being in the moment with the student, looking them in the eye, watching their body language, watching their face, watching what they're writing, giving feedback in the moment and taking those cues from the student to adjust instruction is the most powerful thing we can do as educators to have a positive impact on achievement. So really, shifting the focus to be on formative and summative assessments. And again, the research is clear. If you want to look into that, I'm sure you all have. The power of formative assessment is very important to me. So just, ways that we can move forward with that. Mrs. Coleman brought to my attention a great book by Dr. Muhammad about developing common formative assessments. And I'm not going to lie, we're not there yet with that, but that's something that we've written into the framework that we're trying to get to. And then moving on into the piece about summative assessment, like I said, just different ways we can use summative assessment and focus on that. We have an assessment calendar that was in place that I modified for this year, but it only included the summative assessment. So again, you can see I added some of the formative things in there to make that a focus as well. So those are the pieces that we look at in terms of the formative and summative assessment, but then it's not just giving the tests, it's also what do you do with the data? So, just looking at data, ways to analyze the data, both formative and summative, and just different parts of this framework to get people thinking about different ways to effectively analyze the data. And just a lot of different talking points there and just ways to look at it. And so one of the ways that we're trying to focus on as part of the amended recovery plan, and just like I said, just best practice in general, is just through the use of dashboards and trying to get high-level overviews of what's going on so that we can, dig in from there and pinpoint, areas that we can work on. So just as an example, this is the My Lexia dashboard, and we're using Lexia as an intervention tool for reading. And so, this just gives us a look at the students. Are they logging in? Are they making progress? Or what are the predictors? I can see just in a real quick snapshot here that we have a lot of red there. We've got a ways to go. So, we need to make some adjustments. Then we start digging deeper in from there to see what specifically we can do. We've got the students earning certificates, so that's a good thing. We can see how many staff are logging in. So just being able to keep track of using these dashboards has been a focus this year. And then the NWEA one logged me out, so I'm gonna leave that one for now, unless you guys really want to see it. There we go. Data review dashboards. We're good there. Next one, IP4, developing a plan to improve student attendance. To me, the whole entire instructional framework is all about improving attendance. If we can dig into all of these areas, if we can have curriculum that's engaging, if we can have assessment that makes sense, and we involve the students in that process of analyzing the assessment so that they take ownership of it, and it's not just another stupid test that they have to take. That's huge. To have instructional strategies that are exciting and engaging, and the students want to be there to participate in those things, and a culture of high expectations where the students are part of the accountability process and they're into it. Those are all things that are going to create an environment for improving attendance. So to me, the entire instructional framework speaks to a plan to improve student attendance. We have a homeschool visitor position that has been working K-12, but now we've hired a second person to be working with the lower grade levels, and that's fantastic. To have somebody, to have two people there instead of one is going to, I think, pay great dividends there. I know that the positive behavior intervention systems have pieces written in for student attendance. I hear on the announcements all the time. I'm housed out of the junior senior high school, so I predominantly hear those announcements, and a lot of them are about positive rewards for attendance. And I know the upper elementary, Heather is on the call. She could speak to that, and the primary too. There are these incentives in place that are part of this PBIS plan that are improving student attendance. So I think all those things are going to make a difference there. Looking at IP5, improving cohort graduation rates by prioritizing academic interventions. I mentioned Lexia earlier as a primary intervention tool for reading. Alex is our primary intervention tool for math. So we're using NWEA map testing as a universal screener. All of the students take that. We use that to identify students who may be in need of extra support. And then once we identify those tier 2 students, tier 3, then we, put them, we use the Lexi and the Alex for those interventions. And then just by way of just a draft of something that we're working on, we're not all the way there yet with MTSS, but we do have a draft in place and we're making progress with that. And it looks like this. It's everybody knows MTSS is the tiered framework, and we're working on these different aspects of it here and the ways that we can support students. So again, the universal screeners, we're primarily using the NWEA map 3 times a year, but also other things, classroom grades, individual grade level assessments, attendance, discipline, those sorts of things. And just, again, reviewing the information for extra support in tier 2 and those different tier 2 practices. I mentioned Lexi, I mentioned Alex. We also have in the lower grade levels a program called UFly, and just all the other stuff that would make sense in any format, some small group type of things, and curriculum and differentiated instruction, those sorts of things. No real surprise there. The goal is for MTSS teams to meet regularly. Again, we're not quite there yet, but the draft is in place, and to have those meetings and get those teams rolling is a goal of ours, and we will get there. Tier 3, the more intense level, would be just students that have IEPs or 504s or need that extra intense support. We have that written into the plan as well. Just the different things we can do, again, to impact the climate and the culture, just the ways that we provide our counseling services or extra, activities that we do, or check-ins or assemblies. Restorative practices are part of that, positive culture as well. The way that we support as leaders is important to this process to be successful. Different student, family, and community engagement pieces. This is not a complete list. I can tell you I've been overwhelmed coming from where I came from was a rural school district with not a lot of support in place from the community. It's a very small rural community without a lot of the same types of resources that we have here in Sto-Rox. It's just fantastic. And to try to wrap my brain around everything that is available for the students for support is it's just really fantastic. And that's another goal I'm working on, is to become familiar with all the different ways I can leverage those things for our students and write them into a plan like this. So that's where we're at with providing support in terms of prioritizing academic interventions. IP7, review cycle, graduating class data, outcomes and feedback. This was actually compliments of Dr. Rabel. She shared an exit survey and from a prior district, and where is that? It's up here somewhere. It may have disappeared. Yeah, I can't find it right now, but it's basically what you'd expect from a graduating senior survey. What if I click on this? I wonder if that'll work. Hey, how about that? Okay, so yeah, it's basically, like I said, what you'd expect to see, gathering information. She gave it to me in a format that was like in Google survey, and so I copied and pasted it into a format that we could get to our counselors and principals to modify and build to fit what we're looking for. But just the experiences that you had in school, what can we do to become better, is something that we have in place there. Expanding and improving local academic pathways for students. The Virtual Vikings Academy is it's our in-house cyber program for students, and we're working on making improvements to that. I actually met with the coordinator yesterday, and she had just recently been hired for the position. There were some there was some shifting in the way that the program is being managed. I think it's going to really benefit the program and benefit the students, or somebody who has dedicated time in their day now to handle the way that students are enrolled and the way that the courses roll out, and just there's a lot that can be done there, and that's one of the things that I've been focused on along with the director of student services to make improvements to that academy there. Dual enrollment opportunities is another thing that we're focused on. Actually, our school counselor, Mr. Herzing, went to CCAC today, just as an example, and he was texting me and right from the meetings that he was, I wish you could have been here. That they've got the way this all could roll out for us and the things that we can do, and he was really energized and excited by it. And they want to set up a meeting to put some things in place, and I was like, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. So that's something that we're not there yet, but we're moving forward on that. Parkway West, I have experience with Parkway from my previous district. I've been there. It's a fantastic program, and our students are benefiting from that as well. Let's see. Again, I'm just sticking to the ones in the interest of time that are in black because I'm named in the plan for those. So creating and implementing an annual plan to protect and replace district assets. One of the main things that we've come across here in the building is, particularly at the junior senior high, is the storage of a huge number of materials and supplies that may or may not be very old. And so we're trying to go through and categorize these things and try to figure out what do we want to keep? What do we not want to keep? How do we manage this? It's gotten to the point where spaces are becoming so crowded that they're becoming unusable. And so that's impacting the students in a negative way, particularly in the science department. It's just because science is a discipline that typically involves a lot more use of materials than a lot of the other disciplines. Myself being a former science teacher, I can speak to the number of test tubes and beakers and dissection materials and microscopes, and there's a lot of supplies involved with it. And so just over the years, this stuff has piled up, and it's gotten to the point where it's like I said, it's impacting the spaces. And so we're, creating and implementing a plan to do what we need to do with those materials to upgrade the ones that need upgraded, and to get rid of the ones that are in the way, and make it a better experience for our students. The same thing with the tech ed classroom, the phys ed supplies, just going through them. I know that the phys ed, and we're not there with this one yet either, but just showing me some of the materials that they had been using, that they were not what they could be. And so to go through and have an inventory of all the materials to try to get a handle on all that takes time, and making a plan to do that is something that we were working on anyway. So again, to have it written into this plan is something that makes sense. Yeah, the tech ed classroom too. I was trying to think of what I meant by that. That's the wood shop area. So there's a lot of they had a wood shop teacher, I guess, that resigned several years ago, and that was not replaced, and the space became sort of a storage area for a lot of different things, and so trying to get through there and even be able to make a decision is if we want to have a tech ed classroom or do something different with that space, or just to utilize our district assets in the best possible way, because right now that space is not usable, and there's a lot of tech ed supplies in there that we need to figure out what we're going to do with. Talent management, TM1, enhanced professional development and coaching opportunities. I sit regularly with Mrs. Coleman and our director of student services, Brittany Linson-Bigler, and we have professional development planning sessions where we just have Danny's hopping up. Okay. Yes. Okay. Have a good day, Danny. Thank you. But yeah, just, we just have a matrix for it, or a spreadsheet, and just planning it all out, experience by experience, minute by minute. What's it going to look like? And trying to figure out what sessions we can put in place to maximize the time spent by our staff engaged in meaningful activities that are going to move their craft forward, and that's ultimately going to benefit our students. New programs, including the budgeting for professional development. I've been at places in the past where they just get a new resource and nobody knows how to use it because nobody was trained in it. So we must include budgeting for professional development. For the three latest programs that we've added are the Lexia, the Alex, the My Perspectives is an ELA resource there for grades 7 through 12. And the professional development sessions coming up for that on the 4th. So making sure that's in there, I think, is a huge enhancement of professional development opportunity. Coming on in here to the next part, culture, climate, and safety. CC7, establishing a district-wide culture that includes high performance standards, accountability, expectations, and pride. This might be I mentioned earlier, like the main thing I was focusing on as the director of curriculum assessment instruction was the articulation of a written K-12 curriculum. This one actually might be more important than that in establishing the culture, the attitude of the students, to get them to take learning as far as they can, to be lifelong learners. And so to develop that culture of high expectations. And again, going back to the playbook here for a minute, just to, spell that out for people and try to, just because, when you codify something like this, it takes us to a higher level than just kind of maybe talking about it every once in a while. So, just having those certain non-negotiables for everybody to just to put them out there, that we're putting students first, that we're providing consistent greatness. The third bullet says, know your why. I got that from Mrs. Coleman. She came in here with that idea of a way to move us our way forward. I think was another one of the catchphrases there that I really latched onto and fell in love with. Building relationships is huge. Offering challenging content to all students, just to have those non-negotiables in place. The way that we go about professional development, again, preparing our teachers to be able to have success with the students, giving them the knowledge and tools they need to have exciting, engaging lessons. The way that we run PLCs, again, we're not there yet with some of the things that we want to do with common formative assessments that I talked about earlier, but there are PLCs happening every day at every building, and teachers are leveraging that time to work on improving the educational experience for our students, building in a culture of accountability, which is not a gotcha type of a thing. It's more of a shared respect for the work that we all do, and holding each other to a high standard, and just using the SMART everybody knows about the SMART goals system. So I won't spend a lot of time on that.
Tony, can I interject with a question?
Oh, we had something.
Nancy had her hand up.
Oh, I'm going to mute so Nancy can go.
Okay, can you hear me, Tony? Okay, so as we wind down, we try to finish by 5, but we generally will go over if we're engaged. We'll go up to 5:15. That being said, I don't want to miss the opportunity for you to share a sample of your newsletter. Hot off the presses, would you kindly share that? I think that's pretty impressive. And then maybe let's just allow our participants to answer any or ask questions, I should say, and maybe to react to what you've presented. It's a lot, I know that, but it is positive change that was very, very much needed.
Sorry, I went too long. Okay, so yeah, I was actually going to get right there to the news and notes though. And just by way of a quick example, I put one out today, but this is the one from last month. And so basically what I'm doing here is just putting it out for teachers, topics relevant to curriculum, instruction, assessment, upcoming test dates, research briefs, classroom updates, thank yous, policy, procedural stuff. I will welcome the teachers to add to that. The most important part of it to me, though, is getting into the classrooms like this and seeing this keeps me connected to the curriculum and instructional practices, and helps me accomplish my goal of getting to know everybody, develop those relationships, and it's the part of the walkthroughs or learning tours or whatever you want to call them. To me, is, like I said, to get in there and get connected to the curriculum and get connected and get to know people and develop those relationships. I think there's really nothing more important that I can do to move us forward than to get to know our people and see what's going on in the moment to help move things forward. And it also helps the other staff members too, because I'm pretty sure that, some of the teachers at the junior, senior high probably don't know Miss Dickinson and what she's doing in third grade science and what that room even looks like. They've probably never been there before. And so just to be able to, get a look at that through this lens is helpful and see what they're doing. They're learning about forces. It was really cool. Throwing some assessment updates in there, hot button topics like AI, learning more about that. Here's, some from high school art. And again, maybe Miss Dickinson didn't know what the art classroom even looked like. So she gets to see, window into what they're doing in high school art. And they were on that day creating posters of positivity. So that was really cool to see. Again, just some different advisor newsletter type stuff from the AIU, definition of curricula, just different stuff every month. It's related to curriculum assessment. Here's a fourth grade classroom. So I'm trying to include at least one primary classroom, one upper classroom, and one junior, senior high classroom, if not more, every month. Here's, she's using these dry erase mini boards, which is a awesome formative assessment tool. So, I'm seeing these things regularly. We don't need experts to come in and tell us everything. We've got experts right here in the building that are doing great things. And so to be able to take that and show that to the other teachers and board members and administrators and everybody who's going to see this bulletin is fantastic. The band took they played the national anthem at the Pirates game. I bet you a lot of people didn't even know that. I mean, that's just that's tied to our curriculum. That's in my wheelhouse. That's fantastic. That's something that we want to showcase. And again, that fits back into the amended recovery plan and the idea of high standards, pride. That last word right there is pride. That's the big one there with the news events, I think. So I'm gonna be quiet now because I've gone on too long. I apologize again. I'll turn it back over to Nancy.
Please, no apologies. I mean, I hope that the participants can feel the enthusiasm that we all share, that this is an exciting time for the district. Is definitely moving forward. So let me be quiet as well. Anybody want to offer any type of feedback to Tony? React to what he just presented? Ask him questions. Now, I said this was a quiet group, but maybe somebody can come up with something. Heather,
Yeah.
Maria, how does this look different from what you've seen before? Or not seen?
Yeah, and anybody can feel free to reach out to me anytime with questions or need help with anything, whatever it is.
I'm
Tony,
sorry,
I know
I'm
that's a
having
lot of work.
computer problems. Mine's sticking. I couldn't get off mute. We have a framework in place. We have a plan in place, and I'm confident that we will be moving forward.
And I just want to say, Tony, I know that's a lot of work and it's, comprehensive. And I think you all have a good team that, will work with a strong vision. And as long as you are all working, towards the same plan, I think you're, going to accomplish good things. So I congratulate you all. I think you're all doing a great job.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump over. Thank you very much, Tony. There is a question comment in our message board, and the question about or reference to the original plan expiring in 5 years. The target is for 5 years of extended support to stabilize a district. Generally, a district is not going to leave financial recovery in 5 years. The district here, Sto-Rox School District, has stabilized. Now we are trying to shift to the exit criteria and align the district with those requirements so that the district would qualify. So I think there's a misunderstanding there. It's not automatic, that it's a 5-year plan. Again, that initial plan was meant for stabilization purposes. So does that answer your question, or does that help you better understand? Okay, I'm not sure if she can hear me. Certainly reach out to me at the district. My email information is on the district website. I'd be happy to discuss with you further, whether virtually or in person. But again, it is not an automatic. You don't go into moderate financial recovery and then at the end of the 5 years automatically exit. It's a progression, and there has to be evidence of growth. And thank you, Tony. Sonia, you're a mentor to him, your co-collaborator, another exemplar in terms of instructional leadership. I think the district is in a very, very good position to move forward and hopefully to qualify for exit and moving on to 5 years of monitoring only in the very near future. So I want to just remind everybody that our next meeting, again, it's bumped up a week. It's Wednesday, November 19th, 4 o'clock. Format will be the same in person. You're welcome to come on site. We are at the junior senior high school. We're in different offices here, but the main office, the superintendent's office, is generally used for the audience if you like to join, and certainly there's the virtual option. Any last comments, final comments, questions? Okay, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks, Martha.